Well, we have Ron Gunn, the founder of this 50th annual Turkey Trot in Dowagiac, and I kind of expect there aren't very many other people who've directed the same race for 50 years.
That's probably true, but I'm chronologically enhanced enough to be able to do it.
Chronologically enhanced, I like that.
It's a good way of saying older.
Well, people were having a blast today, so they enjoyed the course. Tell folks who might not have seen it what the course is like.
Well, I'm proud of this course, and it's an all-trail course except for one little section of road in the cemetery where we have to do about a 200-yard loop in order to get 10K. But it's just wonderful, and the trails have been widened, and there's ponds along the way, and just it reminds me of what a turkey trot would have been if the Pilgrims had one. It's very rustic and bucolic.
Yeah. Well, the 10K winner today is a high school runner who's used to those trails, and he had kind of a head start.
Yeah, he was zipping along. He's actually from Dowagiac, and he's really doing an incredible job. You know, he's winning all his races.
Well, Ron, you've had such an interesting career. Basically, you had a great career in high school and college. You're one of those folks who grew up on the Mississippi River, as I did.
That's right, on the banks of the mighty Mississippi. Yeah.
In Moline, Illinois, and then you went on to college in Rock Island.
That's right, and went to a very small liberal arts college, Augustana, but we did win 5 straight national Division III football championships.
And you were the quarterback.
And I was the quarterback, and then I was on the track. I was the captain of the track team, so I did both.
What distance did you do in track?
I ran the half, quarter, and the mile.
Oh, okay, middle distance kind of.
Yeah. When I was in high school, if you wanted to get a cheerleader, you had to be a football star. Back then, cross-country guys were geeks, but today it's totally different. You know, they're the best students in school and probably the best student athletes for sure. But anyway, I just kid about that sometimes.
And then you started your coaching career here in Dowagiac at Southwest Michigan College, is that right?
Yes, I had 2 years in Illinois, and then I went and got my master's degree at Bowling Green. And then I retired from the college, but I haven't retired from being active in sports. And now I'm actually doing a bunch of hiking tours around the world, and I'm living a dream.
You sure are. We're going to get to that in a minute, but right now let's talk a little bit about your coaching career. National Junior College Athletic Association, you won how many titles as a cross-country coach?
As a cross-country coach, we won 5 national championships.
And more than 100 All-Americans?
Yes. Yeah.
What was your secret?
I don't know. I guess one of my favorite slogans is a hungry dog hunts best. So I just worked really hard and stayed hungry and tried to keep my student athletes hungry. And we had a tear and repair training system that worked pretty good.
Well, so recruiting must have gotten a little easier after you won a couple of titles.
It sure did. Probably one of my biggest steps. You know, we got some great athletes come through here, and when one of them was Kevin Higdon, and he was an outstanding student athlete, and his dad, of course, was very famous.
Hal Higdon?
Hal Higdon. And when we landed him, that was like, wow. You know.
So did you meet Hal because you were coaching his son, or did you coach his son because you already knew Hal?
I kind of knew Hal ahead of time, and we worked together on some projects, and I think that helped grease the skids for his son. So, but we had a long relationship, and we actually did some tours too together.
So basically, this is the first race you founded, and it's the longest running. What prompted you to start this particular race?
I'll never forget when I came on the campus at Southwestern Michigan College. It was a brand new college. We didn't have a pot to pee in or a window to throw it out of. And no, we actually had 4 buildings and some gravel parking lots. We were just starting. And I was trying to build up student spirit and everything. So we decided to have a turkey trot. And we didn't have sports at that time. Took me a couple of years to develop that. So
So the race happened before your coaching career here.
Yes. Yeah, and I'll never forget, I got some turkeys, put them in a pen out on the middle of campus to advertise it. Then we opened the pen and tried to get them to go, and they wouldn't go anywhere. We have a turkey here today.
Yeah,
I'm talking about a real turkey. There's a lot of turkeys running around, but this.
An actual turkey.
Yeah.
A pet turkey.
Right.
So you founded this race, and you had a long run with another race you founded, Steve's Run, which, well, I ran this one once, and I ran Steve's Run a few times. And that was the original road and trail race. You like trails.
Yes. And that was my idea, and it worked out really good in terms of going road to trail.
For a long time, that would have been considered a Michigan runner's bucket list race because you got such great competition, especially from Notre Dame and Coach Joe Piani. Tell us a little bit about Joe.
Well, Joe's retired now too, and he's traveling the world, and we were great friends. And I remember he invited us to participate in some of his meets, and some of the other 4-year coaches weren't too happy. And Joe said, "That's too bad. These guys compete, and they're a class act. They're going to run."
Well, I remember him bringing a couple of folks who went on to really outstanding running careers, and I'm thinking of Luke Watson and Molly Huddle in particular, who both ran Steve's Run.
Right. Yeah, that's very fond memories.
It sure is. And so you also have now the Sandhill Crane All Trail Half Marathon. Is that your newest race?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Well, I think I'm all fired up for the Sandhill Crane Half Marathon. And this Lawless Park is a true gem in Michigan in terms of a venue for this race. And in developing training trails for my Grand Canyon class, I actually came across the half marathon course, basically non-repeat trails, and wonderful hills, and 7 bridge crossings, and all kinds of lakes, and some unique features like running along and through a cornfield.
Well, you keep talking about traveling, so really that's your new career. You started with Hal Higdon and taking runners to, it was at Bermuda and Honolulu?
Yes. And we did that. And then I got an interest in that, and then they wanted us to train them, and so I got to the point where, hey, these people are listening to every word, They're sucking everything up, and and I know the first time we ever did Steve's Run as a class, it was a very personal, emotional experience for those people to achieve something like that.
Thank you for coming. We really appreciate you accepting the challenge of this course. This is something that I read prior to every Steve's Run. I think it really captures the spirit of what this race is all about. Fantastic. Although the course set before you is tough and full of challenge, life can be much tougher. Today's race celebrates the life and memory of Steve Bringle. Many runners and walkers entered in today's event didn't know Steve. However, I am sure that every participant has known someone who possessed the same courage, determination, and love of life that Steve did. Prior to the start of today's race, there will be a few moments of silence to reflect on the beauties of these people, and then a bell will sound. Run and walk your race to win. All cancer survivors are wearing special shirts. We salute these special survivors. Thanks again for coming. I thank Southwestern Michigan for the opportunity to be involved with this race. We'll have a couple of moments of silence, and then we'll ring the bell. Fire up for a great race. All right, fire up.
No experience for those people to achieve something like that.
Sure, the 5K race, and as you get credit for running.
Oh yeah, and 5 or 10K, and and the first class I had, they beseeched me to have a second class and a third class. And finally, it turned out, Ron, you got to organize a club.
Well, speaking of club, one of the other things that you did was you founded the Monday Night Runners.
Yep, that was a group of my friends in the Dowagiac area, and we decided to do it on Monday nights, and we went to a little place called Lindy's, which was a bar, and they had screened-in porch, the only place that would take sweaty people after a run. And that turned into be quite a place itself.
And Ron has really morphed into a new career, which is taking people places. You first started with marathon tours, you and Hal Higdon. Tell us a little bit about Bermuda and Honolulu.
Well, it was during the running boom, and I started teaching adults how to run. And one of them was a travel agent, and he thought, hey, we ought to do some tours someplace. And so he asked Hal and I to work with him, and so we did. And we were actually going to do City to Surf in Australia, and I got a nice job going over there, and we got it all set up. And on the way home, we stopped in Honolulu, and we visited with Dr. Jack Scaff, who founded the Honolulu Marathon. And I got to be pretty good friends with him, and we couldn't sell enough seats to go to Australia, but we sure sold enough to go to the Honolulu Marathon, so that worked out real good. And then I just started building on the other places, and in the United States and abroad, and it's worked out miraculously so far.
Well, there are a couple of interesting features of all of your tours. One is hikes, and the other one is cushy lodging. Is that pretty fair?
Yeah, we have good lodging. I have 3 mantras in my company. Number 1 is there's a pub at the end of every trail. Number 2, we don't sleep on the ground. And number 3, we don't hike where there are grizzly bears. So far we haven't made it out to Alaska or anything like that yet. But
well, you've gone to places like Tuscany, and you take people to the Grand Canyon almost every year, I think.
Yeah, the Grand Canyon, doing rim-to-rim hikes is a signature trip. But we also, we've been to Italy, we've been to Scotland, was a wonderful trip. Just got back from Spain a couple of years ago. That's a wonderful place to hike. And we're going to New Zealand, our next trip. So.
North Island or South Island?
We're going to start out North Island. We're going to do that Alpine crossing that's so famous, and go see a little bit of Hobbit stuff, and then we're going to go spend the rest of the time hiking the South Island.
Milford Track?
Oh, yeah. On the way to Milford, there's a really beautiful lake called Gunn Lake. Yeah.
Of course you have to.
Accidentally, because my son wanted to do a real high track. I wasn't into that, so I drove down the road and found this Gunn Lake, and there's a shorter trail going around that.
Well, you have to do that, of course.
Yeah, oh yeah, but it was spectacular.
Well, I was fortunate enough to go along with my husband Art on one trip, which was just fabulous. It was the best of California. We did Point Lobos and Yosemite.
That was a good trip.
Yeah. Hello, this is Jenny McCafferty. We're in California. In fact, we've just arrived at Yosemite National Park. It's our very first visit, and right behind us is one of the iconic sites in this park known as El Capitan. It's so big we can't even believe it. We're part of Ron Gunn's Carinstone Adventure Tours, and we've already been to Napa Valley, and we will be going from Yosemite on to Big Sur Country and Monterey. Yeah, it was. So with Carinstone Adventure Tours, you're taking people really exciting places, and of course you have to scout places ahead of time, don't you?
Yeah, it's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it.
Well, I have to ask you one last question. You have a signature line, fire up. Where did that come from?
Well, that's a good question. It actually comes from the old-fashioned steam engines, where you stoke coal or wood in the engine, and when it's got enough heat generated to develop power, then the engineer would pull the cord, and he says it's all fired up. So I go like this. It's a silent symbol, so you don't even have to say it. Especially if I see somebody out on a run, one of my runners or something like that. Instead of laying on the horn, I'll just go by and they know Coach is telling me to fire up.
You don't have to even say it. You just have to show it.
Right.
Well, you've been firing up runners in high school and college and on into our 70 or maybe even 80-something. So you've really been a Pied Piper of running in Southwest Michigan, haven't you?
I appreciate that. Thanks. I'm the one that gains from the experience. All my people inspire me, so it's wonderful.
Well, it's been fun coming over to the different runs you've held here, and it's fun to see people enjoying the turkey trot today, so congratulations on 50 years.
I appreciate it, Jenny. Yeah.
Thank you, Ron.
Fire up.